Hello, friends, and welcome to another Spring Days vlog here at Hila at home. Today's video interspaced between putting down our wood burning stove to sleep over the summer. I really would love to be talking about how to manage stress, what are the signs of stress, and just share some insights into how I've gone from somebody who was constantly under stress and thriving on this idea, this identity that I did really well under stress, that I produced my best results under stress, to just actually managing and handling stress a lot better than I used to, which is a lot healthier and overall it has been a significant improvement in my life. So let's grab our cups of teas, or broom or mop, and let's get into it. One of the first things that I have to do when I'm cleaning out the wood burning stove to put it to sleep is to remove all of the ash. So it has a lot of ash in it because it's been about 6 months of it burning in an evening, almost on a daily basis. So there is a lot of ash that has accumulated and packed in despite the regular removal of ash during the actual burning season. It does create a lot of dust cloud. So I know that when I'm planning the day that I'm going to be cleaning this up, that I also have to plan a massive dusting of the house, and particularly the area where the wood burning stove is. And so I will be cleaning it out, and I use the companion kit that comes with the wood burning stove. It's got a lovely little shovel that you can use, and we have an ash bucket that I actually bought from B&Q that we use for that. I also use my Hoover to try and suck up as much of the ash as is possible, prevent it from going into the air. When it comes to stress, each of us have our own capacity for handling stress. And when we live with others, we should be aware that how we handle stress differently or otherwise will impact on other people. Now, the thing about stress is that it is healthy as long as we don't become overwhelmed and burn out. Hard work is not stressful in and of itself, but losing control over your life is stressful. And when our lives become unbalanced, we temporarily lose our effectiveness. And we work harder, but get less done. And I don't know about you, but that feels very frustrating for me when I feel as though I'm putting in the same amount of effort, but I don't seem to be able to keep up with anything. And everything becomes a major effort, and we do too much, and we don't enjoy the quality or the process of doing those things. And we have to walk away to be accountable. We have to know when we are overdone, and we need to do something for ourselves. Don't lose control and become somebody you'd rather not be around because you're under too much stress. Ease up. And for me, as a wife and a mother, I feel it when I become more shouty McShouty, as my children like to call it. That's when I kind of realize that I'm losing a little bit of control, and I have to ease up and try and think about, well, what is going on? What is happening? On the wood burning stove, the two sections that I've removed to actually wash with dishwashing liquid and running water is the grate and the tray ash. So I spent the time that's required to really give it a nice, good clean. I'm using a microfiber cloth because I don't want to scour it. Ideally, I should be using some great polish once it's been dried completely in order to refresh the look of it. but I've decided that that's something that I will do later on. And in truth, I'm struggling to remember where I put the great polish for that. Anyway, so it is quite satisfying to give these a nice good clean, and they come out looking really restored and not quite brand new because they have the lovely patina of use, but it does feel as though I'm giving the wood burning stove the refresh that it needs after all those months of working hard for us to keep us warm and hopefully not under too much stress. Coming back to stress, it's quite important to not lose control and to become somebody you'd rather not be around because you're under too much stress. And when you can't handle too much of a load, those around you also suffer. And there's no such thing as a superwoman. That's something that I belatedly learned in my early 30s, but better late than never. There are times to push yourself and there are times to pamper yourself, and no matter who you are or how super you may be, there's still only 24 hours in a day distributed amongst us evenly. And so there's a lot going on in life, handling the finances, decorating, looking after children, cleaning, social life, cooking, meals, as well as trying to keep up with hobbies, nurturing friendships, reading literature. Life should have certain spaces to pause, to reflect, and to let things happen spontaneously. Spontaneity is such an important part of life, and one of those things that I didn't realize I was missing greatly until I started trying to embrace it. But that's another video entirely. So don't always press on, and handling stress, it definitely requires the right attitude. And so for me, here are some of the pointers, some of the things that I have done in order to be able to be better at handling stress. Number one of which, key of which, is don't just be on time, be early. Now, if you get to your appointment with a few minutes to spare, you'll have time to collect your thoughts, have a few deep breaths, make a few notes to yourself, and arrive poised and in control. You'll be more effective, have more energy, and certainly higher self-esteem. And this can apply to everything from school run to doctor's appointments to important leadership meetings. Definitely being early and not just on time makes a huge difference to the amount of stress that you get on a day-to-day basis. The window on a wood burning stove requires a specialist cleaner because of the amount of soot that it builds up. Some of the articles that I read would say just use a Windowlin or just a normal glass cleaner, but that never worked for us. So I used the HG stove glass cleaner, and that was just incredible. On this particular occasion, I use it in order to get the obvious soot off, and then I'll also use a bit of the normal Windowlin glass cleaner just to give it a final polish. Sometimes when there is soot built up on the actual glass itself, I will use a blade tool that will scrape off any fine residue that builds up onto the glass, and that will leave the glass looking as new as it possibly can do. And you can see on there the amount of dust that has been created from all of the ash, which is one of the reasons why I did put off doing this job for as long as I have. This job should have been done probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago, but it is better late than never, and I'm not going to stress myself out too much about it. Tip number 2 for managing and reducing stress, particularly if you're a goal task orientated person like myself, is to reward yourself when you accomplish a goal. After working hard under the pressure of a deadline, treat yourself to a favorite meal or make an appointment to get nails done, and you're more likely to face a challenge with enthusiasm when you plan a reward to follow. Some of my favorite rewards, including just allowing myself a couple of hours to binge watch maybe a Korean drama or a Chinese drama, or just getting one of my favorite meals, which might be a tuna steak. So just reward yourself when you accomplish a goal, and that adds in some pleasure to the hard work that needs to be done. Another stress reducer is to work smarter and not harder. So yes, hard work in and of itself doesn't cause too much stress. It's the overload that we have. But also identifying ways of doing things smarter is a really great idea. For me, working smarter means that I tackle the most difficult tasks during the part of the day when I feel the most refreshed. It took me a long while to realize that it was all about energy management, being aware of which times I had the most activation energy. Activation energy is sort of that ability to be able to begin a difficult task. It's also often called eating the frog, based on the productivity principle that if you're given one day to eat a frog, rather than putting it off and thinking for the whole day that I have to eat a frog, I have to eat a frog. The idea being that it's unpleasant to eat a frog, by the way, that you just swallow that frog whole first thing and then you're free for the rest of the day. And in terms of energy, realizing when do you have the most amount of energy to be able to do that. And for me, it's mornings, and that's part of working smarter. Now, the opposite is times when you don't have that creative edge, when you don't have the energy to go in for the big tasks. I will use that time that I'm low activation energy to do regular day-to-day stuff here. So the filing, the automated processes, unloading the dishwasher, etc., all of those things. And so I find that if I do that, I can keep myself refreshed for doing the bigger tasks, just normally one a day, and then everything goes really quite well for me in that way. So managing the energy so that you work smarter and not harder. Okay, slowly but surely, it is getting done. So I've finished cleaning the wood burning stove itself, and I've sort of wiped down the skirt around it. And so the next thing now is I have to take the wood back outside to the wood store, clean out the wicker basket, and then clear out this area here before I then mop the floor, because the rug, the anti-slip mat that you put underneath the rug to stop it from sliding around, it's got a slightly tacky feeling to it. So that tackiness needs to be cleaned off of the floor before I reset the section. So the reason why I'm doing this is basically we have a winter setup, and our winter evenings and winter time in here revolve around having the fire, which is really lovely. And then in summer, spring, summer, they revolve around being able to see outside the bay window. So I need to shut down the winter central focus and then reset everything around the spring, summer central focus. So the wall behind where the logs were living has got all of these marks on it, and I'm just gonna clean that up using these magic eraser, which I get from Amazon. They're called magic eraser brushes, and they're just gonna get rid of those marks. But the ideal is I do have to do a repainting job, which I hope to get done this summer. So I just see, it just removes. Clean. So good. I love these so much. They're so good. Clean, dirty. Another great stress reducer is almost cliche, but it is an incredible stress reducer, is exercising. And exercising makes you feel better and it gives you energy. And there are so many ways that you can move your body. It doesn't necessarily have to be going to the gym, but you can do dancing, jogging, walking, play a sport, swim, Pilates, so many things that can be done on a regular basis, and it's a fantastic stress reducer. My final stress reducer tip revolves around this whole concept of, we're not superwoman, and that's basically don't want it all. Define what you really want, what you value, and have your actions follow your goals. Enjoy the process of all your activities, finding joy in the actual doing of the thing. It's very similar to the enjoy the journey and not just the destination. Make your pleasure factor a high priority, and in this way you can learn how much you can handle and move forward with confidence. And when you're accomplishing your personal goals, you handle stress better because you can glimpse the essence of things. Take time to feel the awe of life as you move through your day. Dinner was going to be a simple chicken soup using some roasted chicken, mushrooms, onions, and I'm using some mixed vegetables that we buy from Costco. These vegetables are really good, and I'm also going to be using a Knorr stock pot. I've just discovered these stock pots and they're absolutely so tasty and delicious, and they are organic. I start off just by roughly chopping up the onions. So this soup is going to be quite easy because the chicken is already cooked and it goes in after I have done the vegetables. The kids love chicken soup, particularly in spring and summer. It is a lighter soup to have on our Mondays, which is a soup day. In winter, we tend to have the tomato and lentil soup, but it's a bit too heavy now that we are in so-called spring here in England. Cooking is another area in which I really learned to work smarter, not harder, by learning how to do the French culinary form of cooking called mise en place. And hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it is basically the principle of you prepare all of your ingredients beforehand in the correct portions and then you start cooking in one go. And I was quite skeptical about doing the mise en place because I always thought, well, hang on, what about using all of those bowls? I would be creating more cleanup with the bowls. Does it really save time, or is it just more fussy with the cleanup? But I did dedicate myself to trying it out several years ago. And when I tried it out, I became quite converted because, well, the extra dishes, let me just say, they are worth it. When you mise, you definitely become a calmer and more precise cook, and you get better and more consistent results, and there are less mistakes, And I actually found that I had more time for cleanup and multitasking, or switch tasking rather, than before when I was just gathering the ingredients as and when needed to cook them. And it's actually quite a lot of fun for me now. It makes me enjoy the process when I get everything together and I see everything just in their neat little dishes ready to just be popped in when they need to. And so this is another example of how I found that this made me enjoy the process of cooking a lot more. And the unexpected benefit was that I became a lot calmer in the kitchen. I wasn't as frustrated and I could time things a lot better when I did mise en place. And yeah, so the recipe that I'm doing today is a very, very simple one, which just involves sauteing the onions and then adding in the mushrooms to sweat them just a little bit, just getting them to sing. And then I've added in the frozen vegetables, which I can't recommend this enough. These are from Costco. I was very surprised at how good they are. And then I add in the made up stock, little stock pot, which I've made up by adding some boiling water. And I'm just going to leave that to simmer away for about 20 minutes for the vegetables to become just al dente. And at the end of that, just add in the chicken. So this is it now done. So the high wing chairs, they have their backs to the fire, and then the lower chairs are looking out. And if I get visitors, I can easily move this chair over there, or I can move those ones over here. And we have a lovely floor for dancing. Look what's going on. They're setting up the badminton net, which we just received today. That's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you so much for visiting with us on Hila at Home. And until I see you next time, I wish you blue skies, health, and happiness. Bye.